Welcome everyone to this workshop, exploring our hospitality and the wonderful gift we have in Cathedral Ridge as our camp and retreat center in Colorado. And I'm happy to introduce John Hill and Rocky Farron, who are here to lead a workshop. I'm going to spotlight them as they speak, and I think, John, take it from there.
Great, thanks, Joe. And as Greg said, I'm John Hill. I'm originally from Texas, from San Antonio, grew up there. I grew up in the Episcopal Church, but I also grew up in camping too. And so I have a background both as a Episcopal priest and led 3 congregations, but I've also been, this will be my 3rd camp and conference center. So I've led camps for the Diocese of West Texas, which is Camp Capers. Got a chance to build a place called Mustang Island on the beach for families and adults, and got a chance to develop at Laity Lodge, which is a ecumenical retreat center and camp in Texas, and got to build a family camp from there. So I have experience back in camps and conferences, but I've only been here 5 months. So I've been at Cathedral Ridge since May 1st, and we have had an adventure, right, Rocky, so far?
Yes, sir.
But we have had a great time, and but I'm really glad to be here. My wife Holly and I have 2 kids that are 23 and 20, both in universities, one in New York and one at Mines, Colorado School of Mines. So that kind of gives you a very brief history. Oh, and I have 2 dogs also, and not just that are rearing to meet Rocky's new puppy as soon as possible. So Rocky, give us just who you are for a moment.
Awesome. Hey guys, my name is Rocky Farron. I'm originally from Jamaica, one of Nancy's favorite destinations. I've been here now for a little bit over 2 years. I came in summer of 2021. Basically, like 2 of my friends that I went to college with, they used to work out here. They kind of talked me into coming out here. And I moved from the East Coast to be out here. Since I've been here, I've done quite a few different things, had a few different roles. But these days, I'm basically in charge of like operations. So I kind of take care of like day-to-day stuff, some admin stuff, booking people, that sort of thing. And obviously I like serving the guests when they're here as well. Yeah, and this is my first workshop, and I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Okay, just so you know, if you want to know any answers about Cathedral Ridge and hospitality, guess what I tell every single group? Don't come to me, come to Rocky. Rocky knows he knows the important things. First of all, he knows where like toilet paper is and things like that. He knows how to find everything. But he's just got a heart for hospitality. And so that leads me into just a little bit about where I want to do one thing. I'm going to show a video. So I'm going to share a screen right now. This is just an intro to Cathedral Ridge. We did this after the summer, just as a little bit about Cathedral Ridge. And we'll go. You talk about that?
Time has gotten away from me, like blurred lines, 4 and 70. Seen too many sunsets pass, waiting for one to last. Slow it down now, breathe in and breathe out. Ooh, took the long way home, trying to get back to you. I was too far gone, thinking I had nothing
Does that get everybody in the mood a little bit
Yes,
for
sir.
being at camp? So just so you know, that was from the first 2 months of camp, and they had a great time. We did family camps and youth camps this summer. So I want to give you just a vision of Cathedral Ridge for a moment, if I will, from my perspective, and just a vision of where we're going and so this whole workshop has been on called. We were called to gather together as Christ's body. And when I look at that, I can't help but think of Cathedral Ridge as just a center place for that gathering, a gathering of people from all over the diocese that can come through this place, a variety of different people. I mean, as I look at the Diocese of Colorado, there are so many different types of congregations and so many different places around the diocese. And Cathedral Ridge is just a natural place to be able to gather. And I hope that we will not only gather, but as we said about being called, is that we gather to go deeper, deeper in a relationship with God and his love for us and Jesus and his spirit that's with us, and that we go deeper in that, but we also go deeper in our relationships with each other, from different perspectives and different places around the diocese, and different small towns to big cities to everything in between. And so my hope is that Cathedral Ridge helps that happen. And from my experience, it does, but it does particularly, and I want to use the word, and Rocky and I talk about this, the word outrageous hospitality. And when I came to Cathedral Ridge, and actually the first time I met Rocky and stuff, I don't know if you noticed, but just that kind of warm welcome, if you've come here and experienced that kind of outrageous hospitality that says, hey, I don't know where to go. Let me help you do that. Hey, I need this. Let me get this for you. Hey, we got, we want to be able to put this on. How do I find the tools to be able to get here at Cathedral Ridge, but maybe even in town or in this area? Or how am I going to put this on family camp on? Let me show you the places that you can be a part of doing it. So Cathedral Ridge wants to be outrageous in that hospitality, be crazy in that hospitality. So I told each groups when they come here, and we show that, is that when you come, we're here to make sure that we take away all the other things that you normally have to do in life. So take away, like, hey, I've got to make sure and cook, or I've got to make sure and take care of bringing these items, or I got to make sure and have these activities for this group that's coming. We'll handle all those kind of things. We'll take care of, we'll take care of a ropes course if you want, if we'll get archery going, or if we're going to do a new kind of activity, or we're going to put on something, whatever that looks like. We need the table set up this way. And, whether it's outside, inside, 20 tables or one, kind of doing those kind of just hospitality pieces. And things like food, for instance. People have all sorts of different food needs, and that's totally understandable. Some of you have those things gluten-free and just a variety of different food needs that you need. And we understand that. So we try to accommodate all those things to make sure that doesn't get in the way. Because what I found is that when those things get in the way, it takes away from the experience, not knowing where to go when you come in, not having, knowing where your room is and stuff there. If you get all those things, it kind of impacts who you are. So we want to make sure and do that. And we're not completely there yet, and I'll claim that. We've got a lot of work to do, but we're going to do the best we can with the resources at this point that we have. And so that outrageous hospitality. So part of it is, because then you can gather together as a community and then do your thing. So whether it's you're a group of women that need to get to know one another, and grow deeper in that your time, your quiet time, and your discussions together can be uninterrupted because you have water handy, so that you have coffee right there, so that you have everything you need right there. And we're taking care of all those other things that you need to be able to do. So, or whether you're like a men's group that's here right now, which meant they don't need all the little things, but what they want is a lot of food. They want to eat, and they want to have the food handy for them and stuff there. And I promise you, we're making twice as much food as normal because they're eating it and stuff there. So that, and it varies from retreat to retreat, but it's also varies from summer. it's amazing. Junior high kids eat a lot of food too, by the way, in case you're wondering. And it's not just the boys, the girls eat it too. I mean, the junior high, there's just an empty, hollow shell that food goes in and eat. But we got to make sure and think about those things for those camps, right? We got to think about activities that fit those needs and be kind of that outrageous hospitality that meets the particular group that's here at any given time. So how do we do that? Well, right now we do retreats, youth camp, family camp, and abound retreats, right? So the retreats are like, you're bringing your group and stuff here. We're hosting that. We may be putting on things like ropes course or those kind of things that we may be doing. Well, of course, always doing the food, but sometimes you don't want food for this part and you just want the hosting. So that's one of the things we do. We do that in, of course, our youth camps that we put on, but sometimes we're not putting it on. There's a youth camp that's coming out here and we got to make sure you put the games out or those kind of things. We want to make sure we get whatever resources are needed for that particular group that's coming and meet those needs. There's family camps that we put on ourselves, but there's also churches that are putting on family camps. And sometimes those are different. Sometimes family camp looks like a Pride family camp. Sometimes it looks like a Sudanese family camp and stuff there. Sometimes it looks like a church family camp that includes both single and married, some with kids and some without. So it's family is this fluid thing that's got lots of different connotations, but knowing that we want to serve all of those kind of needs that we have, and we try to do that. And then abound retreats are those retreats that started back really in, I think, in the pandemic, if I'm correct and stuff. They're kind of trying to affinity groups pull together groups of large church clergy or lay people and stuff there, or small church clergy or lay people, or being able to do care of creation, or being able to do the various types of that we bound together, that we kind of do that. And we try to create that. We don't necessarily run it. We try to get leaders that lead it and coordinate it. But we are gathering those people together in this place and help the conversation happen to get the support. So I want to give you some stories for a second of what I'm talking about. So there was a women's group that was just here recently, and they came and they had from a particular church, and they had women that were just new to the church, and there were women that had been there for a long time, and they were coming together, and we provided this space of welcome and hospitality and give them what they need. And I love this. Oh, we're a very low maintenance group and stuff there. That's what they told me, right, King? They told me very low. We don't ask for anything. Oh, by the way, we have about 8 different food needs and stuff there, and then we've got some we need, can you set up the room with this, how many 6 tables, whatever it was, and round tables, and we want this kind, and so, but you met those needs. And what happened is the ladies that were first time, they're just coming for this is the first time to meet some of these people. They grew together as a community, and they got to know one another, and they got to spend time praying together and learning about each other and helping each other. When they left on Sunday, they were so excited because they were now going back from this place, going deeper, but now going back into a community that can continue that conversations in that community together and stuff there. But this place allowed that kind of depth and connection that probably you wouldn't have had by only having an hour on Sunday morning and stuff there. So that's the kind of thing for like one idea for women coming. For youth this summer, first of all, camp needs to be a fun time. It needs to be a crazy time. I mean, youth camp is it's just one of those things you want to have a great time, but you also kind of want to learn, and you want to learn from each other, the kids, but also you want to learn from the counselors, and that you want to have a great time doing a variety of activities. And one of the kids this summer and stuff there was really struggling even when she came, and it was it was good for her to be here, but it was difficult. And I remember through part of it and stuff there was just hard conversations that she had, but she started to break down because of the relationship she was having, not only with the other kids, but with her counselors. And by the end, and it's not getting into too much about her, but just so you know that by the end, she really opened up about some stuff that was hurting her, and that she wanted to even hurt herself and stuff, and that it was hard and it was difficult. but she was willing to open up in a safe space because she felt loved and cared for. And she left going, I love this place because I was loved in this place. And so she left camp feeling that the love of God because of counselors, other people, the hospitality, all that stuff coming together and the way in which we are able to do that. So she sees God in the church and stuff as this place of loving, even though she didn't always start off that way. And so another story real quick and stuff there is a family that came this summer. And this was a number of family camps, but I'll just give you one example. At one of the Latino family camps with QC, they were coming and they were struggling in their marriage, and they came to family camp and they were struggling just as a couple and how to keep that going or whether they could keep it going. And the support they found at the family camp, the support they found from other families, from the talks they had, from QC and other people, leaders, strengthened their family. And when they left, they said, I know we can make it now. This is a place because of the support you've helped us with, and because we know we can go back into this community, we're stronger now than we were before, stuff there. And so this family was strengthened that was very weak at the time and stuff there. And so this depth of happens here at camp was huge. One last one with the Abound retreat, there was a guy who came and stuff to one of the Abound retreats. And I know the particular situation, and it was a tough place in his parish, and he's a leader in the parish trying to keep it together. And he needed space to just be quiet. And he's found some space in between the retreats he was at after camps, but he also found some support and some ideas and some other people struggling with the same thing and had ideas to help him with. And he left excited about going back and continuing and providing some leadership to his particular church, stuff there. That kind of gives you an idea of what things that can happen on these places. And so we want to be a camp and retreat center that does, yes, youth camp, fun, craziness, but going deeper. Yes, family camps to help support marriages and all that kind of whatever that looks like, and the families that look like, the variety of things that supports that. We want to be one in which helps retreat leaders and people in churches, whether it's clergy or whether it's lay people and stuff there, support that. We want to help congregations come and have a place of hospitality and outrageous hospitality that allows them to do the kind of retreat that needs to be. But all that goes back to what this is that we're called to gather people together, to make that happen, to help them go deeper, but then also into a community leaving this place that helps them walk that. So my hope is that we'll be able to do that here, but then also connect them into communities that continue that effort. The other thing I want to say is that this is your camp and retreat center. This isn't my camp and retreat center. This isn't the diocese and the bishop's office camp and retreat center. This is the Diocese of Colorado. This is your place. So I want to make sure to invite you to be able to come and take part in it, whether it's taking part in a retreat and bringing your own camp and stuff and retreat, whether it's taking part in one of the youth camps or one of the family camps or one of the Abound retreats or some other thing that we're putting on here, or whether it's being leadership in these things. I'm going to invite people to come and be not only chaplains, but teachers and leaders for these different retreats. If you'd like to do that, I want to invite you to do that. We need people. I want you to bring your piece, your part of the Diocese of Colorado into this. And so sometimes that means I'm going to invite, I want to get clergy and lay people from different parts of the diocese involved. And I realize, I hear it, and I'm from Texas, remember, so it's a big state, and you got to go long distances, just like Colorado. You don't have a mountain range right in the middle. I get that part, but there are problems and stuff getting places because it takes 5.5 hours or 6 hours to get across. And you got to go across some mountains in bad weather, and I trust me, I understand and stuff there. And so we want to try to accommodate for that. But we want to make sure it includes you. So in that respect, part of the vision of this is how can we get youth from different places coming from different parts of Colorado, like So I've been a part of a camp that had a bus from another part of Texas that came. It took them 5 hours to get there and stuff there, but there was a bus that took them from one place to the other. Maybe we do a shuttle bus to be able to do that from down on the southwest side stuff there, or the northwest, or whatever that looks like. And we do that for each session. Or whether we have a we coordinate with particular people that we do carpooling stuff there, but getting people up to camp or family camps and coordinating those things are really important because we want to do that. The other thing is we also want to bring Cathedral Ridge to you. We want to be able to say, hey, Cathedral Ridge is not only a camp in location, but we can actually, and it may not happen this summer because I got to build on this, but by the next summer to be able to do camp on the road, that we do it in your church. So I've done this in West Texas. We did it at Laity, where we put camp on the road, where we actually ran a day camp in a particular town, and people came to that. Or we did a day camp in another place. So you have to create a staff that does that, and they put that on. The other idea is to put, when we have speakers here for particular sessions, whether it's a family camp speaker or even youth camp speakers or a retreat, a bound retreat, if we have a particular speaker, to be able to do a simulcast that you can see and be a part of that, because we have technology, we're doing it right now. How do we use that to bring Cathedral Ridge to you and be able to offer that at the same time? So that's part of what we're trying to work on and try to do. But it'll take us a little time to get there. You got to add staff for that and technology and good cameras and all those kind of things that we are still gonna get money for, stuff there to do. So I just kind of give you an idea of some of those things. So I'm going to stop talking for a second. And so how do we do this? How have we done it this past year? How are we going to do it this next year for retreats, youth camp, family camp, bound retreats? And I'm going to give it over to Reiki for a moment, who's going to share with you from.
Hello, guys. So so John kind of touched on a few of the things that I'm gonna talk a little bit more detail about. Like you mentioned, we offer different family camps, youth camps, and retreats throughout the year. Like most of our youth camps and family camps are in the summertime. It is the our busiest time of year, but throughout the rest of the year, we do have family camps, basically every week, or every weekend. So basically what we do for retreats in particular, we try to provide a space where different churches and groups and organizations can like come and rest and work or teach, whatever like they want to do, and while they're doing their thing, like John mentioned, we try to provide the best accommodations, the best service, and the best hospitality, or outrageous hospitality, as John likes to call it. Like whether that's making sure they have enough coffee mugs and water in the igloos or wine glasses, stuff like that. Sometimes groups have like particular setup needs with tables and chairs and in different buildings or in the fireside room in the lodge and stuff like that. So we just try to provide the best hospitality that we can, and making sure they get to do what they came here for. And like John mentioned, kind of like taking away the cooking and making sure like when they come to the lodge, it's like already beds are made and they have towels and stuff. Sometimes like people call me, before they like get here, and they're like, do I need to bring towels and stuff like that. So we try to take all that stress away, all the worry about that sort of thing. And, we try to make it as comfortable as possible. And, for like most of the retreats, our groups stay in our lodge, which is, I'm sure some of you guys are very familiar with it. But our lodge is basically kind of hotel style rooms. And once again, we like basically, like provide all the things that you would get in like a hotel in terms of the rooms and stuff like that. So other than the retreats that we offer, like I said, the summertime is the busiest time of year. It's jam-packed most times. And so last summer, so we had family camps and youth camps. Last summer we had 3 family camps, 3 youth camps, and a Latino camp, which I'll talk a little bit about each. This past summer, we had our Pride family camp, our Creation of Care camp, or Adventure camp. Basically, I'm like with our Pride camp. We try to be open and serve everybody from all walks of life. Prayer of Creation is mostly focused on taking care of God's creation, and there's like different activities that happen, going out in the woods and talking about the plants and the insects and the creatures and all that kind of stuff. And then we had 3rd to 5th grade camp, 6th to 8th grade, and 9th to 12th grade. And basically, on like all those camps, we try to offer different activities for the different groups. It might look different based on the age of those camps. But we offer ropes course and archery and, field games, gaga ball, which is a big hit with the kids. So that was this past summer. Again, we had a Latino family camp, which was right around Labor Day. And that's with our good friend QC. He has, and John talked a little bit about this as well. But he comes with multiple families. This past Labor Day, we had 56 or something people overall. So a bunch of different families, coming together. And like QC and Margarita, they do the programming. But we just try to help and facilitate the activities. Ropes course again, archery, stuff like that, as needed. This upcoming summer, and I'm going to share my screen with you here. It's going to be what we have planned coming up. Let me make sure it's on there. Yep, and as you guys can see there, we have, give me 1 second here, we get the screen together. Yep. So we have, we were basically like doubled our camps for next summer. And we were actually trying to like double the group size and stuff like that as well. So as you can see on here, we're gonna start out in early May, or late May, excuse me, with our summer training our counselors, and then we have our senior high leader camp, which we're super excited about. This is gonna be, where we get to like grow to like future leaders. Our CITs, which is counselors in training, our counselors, our program crew, and just like leaders in general, people who are here working at camp, and then even back at their churches, back in their communities, we're trying to grow leaders. So that's what that particular leadership camp is going to be about. And then as you can see, our Pride camp, Career of Creation, and then we have a multicultural family camp, which is a little bit different than last year. And for this one, where we're basically trying to get people and families from different backgrounds and cultures, and have a camp all together. Going down the line there, we have again our youth camps, 3rd to 5th grade, 6th to 8th, and then high school camp, 9 to 12. And like we said, like I said earlier, we're trying to grow the numbers of those camps. So we were trying to reach out to different churches and making sure, like they know we have these available, and for the parents to send their kids to camp. Going down the line, we have some different camps that we've added, which is kind of basically like doubled our schedule from last year. You can see we have a Rocky Mountain Fiddle camp. They're gonna come in late July. We have Holy Comforter, St. John's Cathedral, St. John's Boulder. We have Needlepoint, and again our Latino family camp. And then as you can see, there's an open family camp, which basically we're trying to like partner with a church, and they kind of make their own programming while we again help to facilitate and do our part in helping to make it a success. So I talked about some of the activities we offered this past summer, and the ropes course, archery, stuff like that. And this coming summer, we want to basically grow those activities as well. We're looking to add fishing, kayaking, horseback riding, whitewater rafting, and possible overnight camp out, like depending on weather, etc. And like most of these are going to be off-site activities, so we'll be providing transportation, for the kids and families alike. And I'm like, being that they're like they're off-site activities, they are going to come with a fee, of course. So yeah, so these are our plans for this 2024 summer. Once again, we're trying to grow the camps individually, and just grow the summer camps that we offer overall. And I'm gonna just scroll up and down so you can see this little pamphlet here that we have. We'll have these at convention next week when we go, so we'll have these to pass out. You can sign up for your family camps and youth camps right away just by scanning the QR codes. And then we just have some visuals from last camp, the rope course, chapel, stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I'm sure I forgot a few things. If we have any questions, I'll be sure to go back and share those with you guys.
Great. Rocky, thank you. So there. So I'm going to go over a few other things, and then we'll go into questions that we have time. So there. So Rocky mentioned the stuff there about growth, and I do mean growth both deeper and wider. So we're going to grow actually our counselors and stuff there in the training, and so that we are working with ways in which to help with those kids. And so we want a little bit larger staff to be able to do that, because one of the things when you do CITs and senior high leadership, you need people who are leaders of leaders to help them to learn as well and stuff there. So we'll do that piece. And then enough in terms of both youth camp and family camp to be available for some youth camp programming within those, and then some adult family camp in terms of leadership and in teaching and training and stuff. So we'll do those things as well. I'm excited about the activities. I'm an activities person personally. I don't know if I think so. So I'm an activities person. So I love having a variety of activities. So I really wanted to have those activities where we were adding the kayaking and all those kind of things. Most of that stuff, it'll be close to here within about 5 minutes. There's a lake right up the road called Manitou Lake, which is literally 5 minutes away. The horseback riding literally is 5 minutes the other direction down the way. So they're not very far. The camping program will actually be here. The fishing will be on Manitou Lake as well. One of the things we're going to be asking people to give to is to purchase some of these things. We need to purchase kayaks and we need to purchase things. And so we'll do kind of if you will, a wish list, and you can go on like a wedding registry and you can purchase a kayak or a part of a kayak and stuff there. So people can do that kind of thing for us. So that's kind of actually, Elizabeth is helping us set that up and stuff there right now as we speak. I'm actually going to bring a kayak to convention and have it at our booth and have a fishing pole and stuff there. I'm not bringing a horse, though. I won't bring the horse into the deal. But so that's kind of, and then and really part of the next step is a program director that will hire, and really just financially want to wait until the next year to do that, but we'll do that probably in March. And that program director will help really coordinate a lot of this stuff that we've been talking about in terms of program and working with both the chaplains, teachers, program leaders, and then with the staff and training them up well. So that's part of what we're trying to do, because we want to help them have the skills and to grow, to be able to work with kids, to be able to love on kids and understand that. And then the other piece of stuff there is eventually, not this summer, but I think the next, we'll have a staff that's designated toward a few of the camps on the road kind of things and stuff, because we really do want to make that serious about that. But you have to have a staff for that. That's their camp for the summer. They're going to do 3 camps of camp on the road. And we hired these people to do that, and they're running these day camps and stuff there for us in different places. So that's kind of the vision, to be able to do that. but also finding somebody who has the tech support that can do it so we can do those kind of videos of things. And that takes a little bit of time as well. I'm going to jump to facilities for a moment. So not only want to grow a program, but we also want to grow facilities. So y'all probably have heard, and I don't have this on a screen, so I'm just going to kind of do this. Y'all seen this, right? Anybody seen this before and stuff here? So this is what was designed for the outside of the lodge. And our hope is that we will build that this next year. We want to make sure and do that. We want to, add a space that you can gather on the outside for your retreats, but so can other people, families can gather out there as well and stuff there. So our goal is to be able to add that this next year. Our hope, I'll just speak for me, my hope is to add a pavilion as well. Not sure where that's going to go yet or how it's going to look exactly. I have some ideas and we have some pictures and we have a possible donor, but we're trying to work that out where you could have a meeting space that would be outdoor, indoor, but also could do games in it and a variety of different activities. We hope to be able to do this year and stuff there. Some places like we're going to redo the bathrooms in Bluebell and in Astor. And the reason we want to do that is because they're terrible, but they need to be redone. And two, we can actually develop where Astor and Bluebell can become family camp spots too, because there are 2 rooms. There's on each side of these. There's a 2 rooms on each side. That's a cabin, and you can put a queen bed and keep bunk beds on the other, and you could put a family on each side, so you can actually add 5 more families to a family camp, but also, and then move them out for youth camp and have the bunk beds in them, but then you can use them for the family camps and other adult things too throughout the year. You can use those sides as opposed to only being used during the summer for youth camp. And so we're trying to be able to use that space because from there and stuff there, we want to be able to add this is not this next year, but the next few years, we want to add what we would these flexible or convertible cabins. And the idea behind this is, and I'm just going to show you this because again, I don't have this on is to add these kind of things where you're adding these cabins that would have 4 sides to them. And I talked to Chad about this, Sleepmeyer and stuff there, about the idea of so that you can add 12 bunks in each of those sides. So you have little cabins with bathrooms, and but those beds can move up and become 2 queen beds that you could have for adults, or a queen bed with bunk beds for a family. So you can take the same cabins and turn them into different functions for different retreats and stuff there. So if we're having a family camp, it may have a bunk bed with a queen bed in there. If it was an adult retreat, it'd be 2 queen beds. If it was a youth camp, it'd be 6 bunk beds or 12 beds in there and stuff there. So if we add those 3 cabins, you end up with 120 kids for the summer stuff there. So we go from about 40 to 120. Now, yes, we have to grow that. I get that. And this won't happen next year, so don't get me wrong. So we got time. We'll grow that program and those people at the same time, put into cabins that make sense for us to use for flexible space, so that is every church has different needs. So each of those churches, some churches come with, we want to bring kids and stuff there. We want to bring all adults. We want to do a vestry retreat. We want to do a vestry retreat. So we're going to use these 2 cabins that we're building, and somebody else is using the lodge over here. And then we'd have 2, Astor would be a meeting space, and then you'd have a meeting space in the lodge. So you'd have 2 different groups going on. Does that make sense? So we're trying to get that flexibility to meet a variety of different needs. Because ultimately we're about, again, helping that retreat, whatever that looks like, meet their particular goals that they're trying to happen. And we can do that by having that flexibility of cabins. It also doesn't cost as much as building a brand new lodge, which would cost a lot more to be able to do. So this would give us that flexibility in space. So I'm giving you a heads up for 1 to 3 years, unless anybody here would like to raise their hand right now and give $1.5 million. Do I have a taker? Anybody? Reiki, did I see your hand go up? No.
I saw Greg's hand go up.
Nancy, you got your hand go up. That was it.
No,
But
we can
in all
do this,
seriousness, it's all about, developing a space that will serve the needs of growing deeper and growing wider and stuff there, helping people to have that retreat experience to be able to do that. So it would give us this, I'll give you numbers. It would give us 120 in a family camp. It would give us 120, actually 39 families to 120 people for the family camp, 120 for the youth camp, and about 78 adults to be able to do that if you had 2 in a room. So you'd be able to do some. And one of the reasons you want to do this is there are churches right now that want to come and use us. Churches in this diocese that can't come because they're not big enough to be able to do. And that makes a difference because those churches also have kids that we want to connect to for the youth camp. And we want to create a family camp and develop that. And those families will come and those kids will connect with the youth camp and start doing it. And then they become a part of Quest and they start doing that. And they grow up in a faith formation of not only their church, but of the diocese in a community of faith that's bigger than just themselves or their particular church or area. And so we gather them together and we connect each other, not just by our region, but together as Cathedral Ridge, we have the opportunity to build that as one. And the only way that happens is to create the space and the program and the ministry that enables that to happen and stuff there. Now, I'm going to go a little bit bigger and I'm going to end, but the idea of that area where I was just talking about, where these where these cabins would be built, there's this area right in here, and it's called the Glen. You see that? So the idea is to create a space in there that there's paths, maybe even a water feature. You got the chapel in the center of that. You have these lodge room stuff, the kitchen right here. You have that already barbecue, the area that we do s'mores in, that's down there. You create this space that is that quiet space. It's interesting. We have no water on our facility, but the opportunity, if you can actually just basically do a fountain, right? It's a running water that comes down and you hear water. Doesn't matter if you just, it's not a deep, it's like little, but it just streams down and it's that sense of a creek and the sense of water and stuff. And you create a space in there that is, allows people to, retreat and to get away and stuff. So we want to kind of create those kind of spaces around camp, places of play, places of rest, places of retreat, places of eating s'mores that are really good for you, eating food together, gathering together. And so any buildings that we're talking about doing so that it has a purpose of both growing numbers and growing depth in that and stuff there, and using it for a variety of different people to be able to do. My hope is that, and then the last thing, we've got to do some work as we do that, we kind of refurbish the lodge a little bit too with new carpets, those kind of things. You have to kind of keep up your facility as well. But the last piece I want to talk about is just a welcome center. When you come to camp or any retreat, it's hard to know where to go exactly. There's no place of entry. You come in and you go, okay, so we're trying to put signs with arrows that point to the right direction and a welcome center that'll be focused around the lodge. I don't know if it's going to be on the lodge or next to the lodge, but somewhere right there that we have a welcome center that you always go to, whether you're going to a youth camp, a family camp, a retreat, whatever that is that you come into, and we have some offices in that place. And when people are needing to settle up, we can meet there. When our staff can gather there and meet, and just a place of welcome. And that last thing I think is really vital, so that people know where to go and how to gather when they first get there, and where to leave and how to where to check out and stuff in that place. So that's kind of the things we have. We could expand. I'm not going to go into further things. With each of those things, as we raise money for, you want to put extra on there for infrastructure of doing water, because water is an issue up here. So you got to make sure you have water and plenty of it. We learned that this summer. And so we want to be able to do that and expand that, make sure that's all in place, and electricity and all those things as well. Everybody, I'm trying to breathe for a second. I said a bunch of things to you. Okay, but all of that is not impossible things. Those things can be done in actually the next few years if we just have a sense of why we're doing it and sharing that message, and that we want to grow deeper and wider, and that we want to help have a place of outrageous hospitality that allows people to go deeper in the relationship with God and then go wider in the relationship with each other. And so that's kind of the goal of Cathedral Ridge. So I'll leave it, and then I'm going to open up for questions at this time, because we got about 20 minutes left. So what questions would you have, or what things you ponder, or ideas you have for us?
John, are you going to have all those drawings at convention as well?
I'll have
Like that.
some of them. I have these. I'll have these. I'll have
Yeah.
a mock-up of a pavilion, not the final one, because we got to
That book that you had that shows the little
I'll have
cabins
this.
with the
I'll have
yeah,
this.
that concept I think people can really embrace. I'd be interested to hear from either Nancy or Candace their thoughts on that concept.
Muted. Where am I? Am I unmuted now?
You're unmuted. Yes. Nancy. Are you there, Nancy?
I'm here, yes.
Yes, go ahead. Do you want
Well-
to have questions or?
Well, first of all, I will say I am from St. David of the Hills in Woodland Park, so we are close by.
Fantastic.
We have had relations out there in the past. We haven't more recently, unfortunately, but we are more than willing to have continued relations out there. We have a small church, an aging church, but we are more than willing to do whatever we can.
Thank you, Nancy. I haven't had a chance. I'm sorry, I've been literally going from May 1st to now, so I apologize for not being able to chance.
I'm sure.
My goal is to be able
I'm
to go
sure.
around to different places, but that's the other piece I failed to mention is I want to go around to different places. You guys right here, and I literally have gone nowhere because I've been working here. But I'm going to come over and we can have a conversation and talk more about that. I'd love to do that.
But I think also Nancy's suggestion of taking those drawings and all to the convention is wonderful, because when people see, they can relate to it better and see the vision better and are more willing to contribute to that vision.
Great. Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Candace, what do you think?
Yeah, I can't say that I understand what these convertible cabins are all about. I'm having trouble.
Understand.
I'm seeing all of a sudden sides of walls coming off, and I don't know what that would
Okay.
entail.
Let
Is
me.
it like a tent, or is it like
No. It's a cabin. So all it does, it's not a convert. I think the word convertible. I like the word flexible cabin is probably a better way of doing it. So the flexible, it would look like this.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's just like a cabin, right?
Oh,
You see how the different sides come out of it?
yeah,
So
yeah.
so imagine 4 of each side has 4 coming out of it. Okay, but inside, so the outside stays the same. There's no top coming off of it. Okay, so that's the problem with convertible. It sounds like we have a
Yeah,
convertible
I'm
top
thinking
and stuff there,
cars,
right?
Not like a
So-
dollhouse.
So I think that would be
Right.
really cool if we could do that, but I don't think that's possible. But here's kind of, and I'll try to get this up close. Let's see.
Yeah,
here
I
the
can
best-
see it,
best-
Uh-huh.
So you see on one side where it has
Yeah.
these are bunk beds right here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you can fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's times 2 because there's a
Right.
bunk bed. So that's 12 kids could be in there, but really it'd be 10 kids and 2 counselors, right? That's what it'd be. Okay, so you can do that on all 4 sides if you wanted to. So this is not exactly, this is another side right here.
Right.
So imagine 4 sides having that. So that could be youth camp. okay?
Mhm.
But you can also do this. You see these are two queen beds,
Uh-huh.
and they fold up into the wall and form a queen bed and stuff there
Uh-huh.
below. Stuff there. So you don't have to pull furniture in and out of the cabin every time and stuff there.
Mhm.
So you don't have to switch it every time, because you'll have youth camp for 3 weeks in a row, right? So it'll stay like that, and then you'll move it to family camp, and it may have like this with the bunk beds on this side, right? Okay, so you see what I mean? So it can be an adult space like this, it could be a youth space like this, and it could be a combination and be a family space. So it can be any way in there that you can allow, and you can do that with 4 sides, and you do that with 3 of those cabins, then you end up with the numbers I talked about.
I
Stuff
see.
there.
Okay.
So that way it changes from one thing to the next, but you don't have to do it like, and during the year, you may have a retreat that's coming, and their particular church needs 2 of these spaces,
Mhm.
right? So they can be in these 2 cabins that look like this, and they have a particular configuration they have. And then some other church has got another configuration next to you in another space and stuff over here. And then someone's over in the lodge that's going, you see what I'm saying? You see, because what we're not doing right now is filling our space. We're using the lodge and only filling X number, because that's all we have in configuration.
Yeah.
We don't have, we have a cabins that only have bunk beds in them. And the groups that are using aren't using a bunk bed, so therefore they get, or a youth group comes and they're not using the lodge. So we want to be able to use all of it for different groups and stuff there. So
I
that's
see.
the idea.
Okay,
Does
so
that
now I
make sense?
understand more what the convertible is, the beds, not not the walls.
But that would be really cool
I
though, if
was,
we
yeah,
could
I
make
was
the
trying to have a
walls go
vision
in.
here.
I want to have a little remote control that, like the wall, like the roof comes off and stuff.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Hey,
Well, they
Greg,
do
I'm going to talk to Fleetmeyer about that. We're going to get the convertible roof so we can look at the stars at night, and we can
Well,
take,
I lived in Salzburg, Austria for 3 years, and the Festspielhaus, where they have the big festivals, has a roof that goes
oh,
back and forth that can be open or closed, and they've had it for 30 years at least, since the first time I lived
in,
there.
in
So-
this case, we don't,
Check
but
it
we
out.
do have, the up at the dining hall in Sage Hall, a great deck or patio stuff on the top that you can come out to and see
Yeah.
the stars with
Yeah,
actually
I've been there. In fact,
post-
I spent some time looking at the stars this summer. I went to the
Exactly.
Care for Creation retreat and met Reiki there,
that's-
and it was lovely. The picnic tables are great to lie on to look at the stars, I tell you.
That's right. John, what's your thoughts?
Well, I got two questions. One related to this interesting cabin configuration, and then another one. So, have you been in touch with any other camps that currently use that? And what's their experience?
So Fleetmeyer and Lee, who's the architects who've been working with Cathedral Ridge long before me and stuff there, do this, and they work with, that's what they've developed in multiple camps, including a camp that a friend of mine is building right now, and that's what they're going to be using, this kind of cabin and stuff there, for that purpose and stuff there. So, it's been successful in other camps, and even new camps are using it because of that purpose and stuff there. So yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the other question that you kind of flew by something a minute ago that I think is potentially really important and could probably raise a lot of money. You made the statement that s'mores are good for you. And if you can prove that, you can just bottle money. I guarantee you.
But I should have put the little asterisk that said "good for your soul."
Okay, that's what I wondered. I was going to ask, is it a nutritional thing or a soul thing? So,
Oh, soul is nutritional. I mean, we're a spiritual retreat center, right? I mean, so we want to make sure. No, so, yeah, I'm not sure if it's good for your body, but
maybe you can
especially
have a little fun with that and just have a little asterisk that explains that it's good for your soul.
exactly.
You could probably sell some s'mores at annual convention with
Maybe
that statement with the caveat.
I like it, and we can make s'more cologne
Oh,
and
yeah.
perfume,
But I don't know about that.
s'more candles,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do think
Already out there.
the idea of thing that's like a wedding or baby registry, especially when you can contribute, let's say a kayak costs $1,000 and I want to give $100. I'm going to start contributing to the purchase of a kayak or fishing equipment or whatever. People get that registry concept.
I'd love to take
I'm
credit
thinking
for it.
your
It was
NYU
Elizabeth who did it,
daughter
but-
came up with that idea.
No, Elizabeth did. Elizabeth at the
Oh.
dice. So it was her idea, and I'll give her credit. So I'm giving a disclaimer right now, like Elizabeth. And so she's actually working on it right now, and so I gotta send her some stuff on it. But but it's a really great idea. Because I think people will get behind that and give to these items, especially things that, like activity things and things like that. I don't know how many people are going to give to the new piping. I'm going to give 100
Donate a
feet of-
toilet.
the piping that goes into the walls of the cabin and stuff there, but they do give to things like that and stuff there, so for sure. And that and at the end of the day, that helps us because then we don't have to purchase that too. So what
I
other
love personally, I love the idea of taking camp on the road. I think that's a wonderful thing. And it would, you could come down and do in a place that's, remote or not hasn't had any contact with Cathedral Ridge before. And, a 1 or 2 day camp on the road and get kids interested in it and families interested in, because Cathedral Ridge is a wonderful place. We wouldn't want to give up that experience,
course.
but it would be great giving people a taste for it and to see some possibilities.
So the idea, each of these are connected to each other, right? I mean, so you do camp on the road and you connect to a particular staff, who love on these kids. And then they're back next summer and they're coming to Cathedral Ridge and see that staff member and stuff too. They come to family camp with their family and stuff there that, later on or that next year and stuff there. And they connect with some of the people that were there before, and then in turn, they connect with some of those counselors are going to be on the youth camp and they come to that. And those adults that are there can talk to Greg because he's there and they're going to go on a pilgrimage and they connect to the pilgrimage. The point is that we're all connected in this, right? And Cathedral Ridge is a gathering place to help that happen. And we're called to different parts of it. We're not all called to every single thing. And you're not going to come to every event at Cathedral Ridge, right? But you're going to come to pieces of it. And we need to create opportunities for different people to connect with each other, with God, and one another in the Diocese of Colorado in this place. Because I think that's how we go deeper. Because ultimately, you and I I get a piece of God is giving me. You are this part of this, and Reiki is this part of this and stuff. I'll just use Reiki and I for example. I mean, I'm great at telling vision stuff, and I'm great at thinking that way. Reiki is the detail and we need each other at camp, right? The two of us need each other in that and stuff there. I mean, I'm great at saying, hey, this is what we're gonna do. And then Reiki comes like, hey, John, do you see that this needs to be set up like this? And I'm like, no, I didn't see it. I just don't see it. I can't. In the same way, you and all of us are needing each other in different ways. We all need each other. And so Cathedral Ridge can be a gathering place that we meet some of those needs that God brings together and stuff and that. So, and Camp on the Road is one of those things, right? It's one of those needs that can be met. It's not the be all end all, it's one thing, but it fits into the other pieces that we have.
I think we need a catchy name too, like Ridge on the Run or Ridge on the Go or something. I mean, that people better than me can come up with it, but we could really get a catchy slogan for
Ridge on the Run. I don't know.
no, Ridge on the Go. Over the ridge. I don't know. Whatever.
Through the woods.
Yeah, it was, exactly. There's a song about that I've heard. But yes, that's but you're totally right. That kind of thing as we move toward that programming, that's where I need a program director too, in terms of coming up and developing that stuff. That's where that comes into play. Any other questions or thoughts? Because I'm a priest, so I can talk for as long as you want. I mean, I can, I could come up with a sermon if you'd like. I can do it in like about 5 seconds. Greg.
Well, I'm your timekeeper, so I'll just remind you, you have 10 minutes remaining in the workshop, but I do have a question. And
Yeah.
that is, as one who leads pilgrimages every year, it strikes me there's something common between the work we do in pilgrimage and what is happening in Cathedral Ridge, and that is these are two really important ways that we offer immersive kind of experiences away from either, I think it was Lisa Kimball from VTS who said there's three realms where we really grow in faith. One is our personal spiritual practices. One is our faith community, our church, our local community, and then one is immersive experiences that get us out of those other places and let us go deep. And I just wonder if you'd comment on that. It seems like Cathedral Ridge is such a special place for that kind of deep immersive work.
Yeah, you're totally right. And Elisa has talked to her about this before and stuff there. So, camp ministry, being away from all the distractions in life and stuff there, right? I mean, it's not even that you're even doing things at your home, but there's always distractions and stuff there. I mean, when I'm at home, it's easy to get distracted and not go deeper because I'm just surface doing. I can look at my phone, I can do these things. But when you come to a new place, a separate place, and all the other stuff is taken away from you, and you have to stop and be quiet, or you can have conversations that you wouldn't have had because you were too busy before, or you have a moment to listen to what God is saying that maybe has been saying it the whole time, but you didn't have the place to listen and stuff there. And you're with people who are also in that pilgrimage, in that thing together, and you're doing this. It just provides that opportunity for us to listen and to speak what God's been speaking for a while into us to other people too. And so Cathedral Ridge is not only just the gathering of people, but it's the gathering of God's Spirit who is we journey. I mean, God brings us to, all of our life is a journey, right? We're all in that pilgrimage from the very beginning of life. And Cathedral Ridge just provides a place for you to stop and reflect on it, a place in which you can slow down enough to see it, and then to share it with others. And in that process, you support and go deeper with each other in that. So I just think, any kind of camping experience, but particularly one in which allows you the place to do that. That's really our goal, is to kind of create that space. And I think there is something about being in the mountains that makes a difference. You look in the scripture and they went up to the mountaintop and they went up, they got away. Jesus literally went away and took his disciples with him and took Peter, James on top of the mountaintop and because there is a special place that God speaks and stuff there. And sometimes this place needs to be a place that we can provide that. Sometimes I fall in the trap of we don't want to over-program too. So we want to create a place, each retreat needs to do that. So that's why it's different for every kind of camp for that to happen. So we want to create that kind of space for each one, for you to find that journey and that pilgrimage for you. And what I've also learned is not everybody finds it in the same way or at the same year or place. It may be that it resonates for you, Greg, this year in this place because you are open to it. Next year, you may not find it. I've been on Cursillos before, which were like, yes. I've been on ones before, and I'm like, it didn't mean anything. I mean, I've been on, retreats and stuff that meant a huge meaning, and other times in which I just kind of went through the motions. But somebody else on that same retreat, it changed their life. Right. And so God speaks in that. We just want to create the place and not get in the way of that, but enable that to happen. Any other thoughts on that? So is everyone else going to get a deer like I am, like Reiki has and stuff? I think that's important. We all have our own personal Charlie. Is that what you named him?
Charlie, yes.
I want to know how you know it's the same deer. There's a lot of deer up there. How do you know it's Charlie every time?
Did you tag him? You put a tag on him?
Tag him. He has a special mark. That's his logo.
Okay.
I just want to I want to thank you and stuff there, and I hope people will take time to hear the recording and listen and stuff, and bring other ideas. I just want to say that I am open to lots of ideas, and as a diocese, this is your place, and we want to create it the way you need it to make it work and stuff. So whether it's changing youth camp this way, or adding this, or these are just where we're at this stage in this development. So just know that it's always a work in progress. We don't have it all complete, but I'm hoping that we'll keep moving forward, and that whatever that vision that God has for us, that comes from God's people. And so we have to listen to that. So part of my work is to go out into churches and to listen. So Nancy, you talk about going to St. David's. I want to come to St. David's and listen and stuff there. Okay.
Please do.
I'm now just getting to that place where I can actually have the freedom to do that. We have the staff in place, so I'm not having to be here as much and go away. But I want to go to other places too. I just was over at the cathedral, and we're going to have a coffee hour over there and stuff there, and talk and stuff there. So we're going to go to different places and listen to people share what we are, but also listen to the ideas and keep working at wherever God wants for Cathedral Ridge. So thanks for taking the time today to learn about it and go out and share about it too as well. And I'll bring this stuff to convention, and we'll share more about it at convention. Greg, did you have some things you need to share about?
I do. First of all, I want to say thank you to you, John, and thank you, Reiki, for leading us in this time in this workshop today. It's exciting to hear the energy and the ideas that are brewing for what's still to come. So many of us have had great experiences at Cathedral Ridge, and I hope others feel like I do, just looking forward to the next time I get to be there. And it sounds to me like this is the time to spread that word. I want to say thank you to everyone today for joining us for this workshop. We're really thrilled that we were a part of this. This is being recorded and will be available on the convention webpage in the next 24 to 48 hours, they tell us. If you are interested in learning more about our convention, you can go onto our diocesan webpage at episcopalcolorado.org. And once you're on the webpage, go to Diocesan Resources. You can pull down that menu and look for the convention and click there. And there's already a wealth of resources there as we speak. Thank you all very much.
Before you say goodbye, I'm going to share a screen in a 2-minute video. You ready? Yeah. So can you do that? Yep. Wrong one here. Let me get to the right one. Hold on, stop. I can't get past this. The top thing is in my way. How do I get that? How do I get off a? There it is. Okay, here we go. Y'all hear this? Wow, what an amazing summer we've had at Cathedral Ridge. God is moving in the lives of children, youth, and families in this place. My name is John Hill. I'm the executive director of Cathedral Ridge, and I'm standing in Ponderosa Chapel, wanting to tell you about the variety of different ministries this past summer. We have had family camp and youth camp. We've had a Pride family camp and a Care of Creation family camp and a Venture family camp and a Latino family camp. We've had youth camps, 3rd through 5th grade pilgrimage camp, the 6th through 8th grade connections camp, and the 9th through 12th high school quest in the wilderness camp. And they have been amazing. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your support in this place. I want to thank you for your financial support of being able to support children, youth, and adults to come and experience the love of God at Cathedral Ridge. And I want to thank you for your prayers. I want to thank you for your prayers for this summer and for the summers to come. And I want to ask for your help. I want to ask if you could help us continue the prayers in this place, to lift up the children, youth, and adults that come through this place in the summer and all year long. And I want to ask for your continued financial support, that will continue to support children, youth, and families to experience the love of God at Cathedral Ridge. My hope is that by next summer, we can double the number of children, youth, and adults that come to this place. That's right, I said double. That means almost 500 coming through in the summer, just in 2 months, to experience this place. We can't do that without you. So thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your financial support. And I ask your continued support so that we may share this love of God in Jesus Christ through the power of His Spirit, through Cathedral Ridge, and a variety of different ministries. So thank you. And I look forward to coming to share more about Cathedral Ridge with you and your church. I got.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See y'all.
See you guys. Thank
Bye.
you.
Hi, thank you.